welcome to Counterpressed on The Ringer and Spotify. We're back for another season. I'm alongside Kate Longhurst and Becky Taylor-Gill. On today's show, we talk about some of the big news stories over the summer, also answer some of your listener questions and look ahead to the Champions League qualifiers. Kate, I got to talk about your Friday night before we even talk about anything else.
What did you do?
Kate got papped.
I forgot.
Kate got papped.
I thought it was like she'd gone out on the town. No, she was looking miserable on the TV.
Kate got papped.
Yeah.
Live on Sky in 4K Ultra HD, watching West Ham men get battered by Chelsea.
Thanks for bringing it
Jumped up in the pub. I was like, you're on TV!
Oh, it's not good. It's sad times.
So
By that
funny
point,
that
I was kind of
so
over it though. It was
confident as well.
Listen, I actually just tried to speak it into existence because I thought there's no chance. But I thought if I just say we're going to win 3-1.
So for context, the reason it's even funnier is that Kate had posted on Twitter saying that she felt something in the air like West Ham were going to win 3-1.
And I thought it was going to come true when you scored that second goal that was ruled offside. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. She's done it.
And that was the height of the excitement for the night.
And speaking of men's football, the dust bowl at Body Movements is why my chest is bad, but my voice is bad because of the Liverpool game last night. I was so rowdy.
What a game, by the way.
Some Newcastle fan, when they equalised, turned round to me and celebrated. And so I was not very chic when we won.
You weren't in your best.
And that's why I like the dust plus the screaming is kind of giving this like husky.
Kind of like it. That's a nice vibe for the pod.
Yeah. Is it sexy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you very much to Sir Jeff Longhurst for posting the picture because we didn't have any record of you.
I desperately tried to take a picture, but I was too slow
on television. And thank you to Sir Jeff for papping that. So that's the first thing I wanted to get out of the way. But more importantly, we're back for the new season.
European champions.
European champions.
I haven't even seen you both since.
Back to back.
Yeah,
baby.
so
Back to
true.
back.
Where did you watch the final, Kate?
I was at Box Park.
Oh.
No,
Which
I wasn't.
one? Which
That's
one?
a lie.
Oh, okay.
Why did I say Box Park? I was at Tocker Social.
Oh,
watching
fun.
it. Yeah.
Very fun.
Good
crowad. Oh, is that the one that Andy Carroll was
Carroll was there.
Oh
Very
my God,
fun.
that's like teenage Becky's dream.
Yeah.
Was he looking fit? Because I think Andy Carroll's fit.
He was. And he'd obviously been watching a bit of the Euros as well because he knew what he was talking about, some of the players and stuff.
Is he still playing in France?
No, he's at Dagenham, isn't he?
Oh, that's
so
fun.
I might see him this season if I go and watch the women.
Yeah, and you have, I wouldn't say you've got a job, but you've got things happening. You sort of got a job.
Well, happening, yeah.
Yeah, things are. So anyone who's really worried about Kate Longhurst's employment, fear not.
How was your first
I'm worried
summer?
about it. So.
How was your first summer of not having to do pre-season and not having to stay fit?
I went for a run yesterday. I was telling Flo before. I went for a run yesterday and I'm broken today. And I didn't even run very far. Definitely not fast. It's crazy how much you can just go. Like I've been going to the gym and stuff, but not running. And I feel like an ordinary person.
Is your plan to get hench? Is that the Kate Longhurst vision?
Just not get big. Just want to stay athletic-ish.
Okay.
You know, but I want to do, I'm an active person. I want to do some sports and stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I also
Join my team.
I also did play a couple of friendlies
for
my friend's team.
Oh, like as a ringer?
Oh my God, Kate, join my 11-a-side team. That would be so funny.
Let me know and I'll turn up on non-contractual basis. I'll
we're
just turn
champions
up
as well, so it would be a good deal for you.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say what team it was? Are you going
Brighton and Sea.
Oh.
But I don't know what league it is, but they were all very welcoming to me.
Yeah,
what was play.
Did you play well?
Got a couple of assists last game.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you officially registered with them?
No.
You're just a ringer.
I think I was getting a little bit like I need to do something.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, oh, if you want to come and train with us. And then I just got roped into a couple of games and I was like, all right. But I think I might be going training tomorrow, but I think
that's it.
That's as far as it goes. But
I'm on a recruitment drive to bring you into my team.
Okay, yeah.
Also, we play against a girl who played for she played for England under 17, something like the same kind of age as like Kira Walsh and everyone. She's really good. And
What's
I
her
really
name?
hate playing against her. I can't remember.
Oh,
I
well.
will find her for you.
Close terms.
So if you could come and play against her, and then I'll just go somewhere else.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, cool.
Well, we look forward to seeing how your Sunday League career develops throughout the season, Kay. Let's get on to some preseason chat, though. Let's answer some of your listener questions after this. So last week, put a call out for what people would want us to talk about on our first show back. And I have to say the overwhelming selection was London City Lionesses. I didn't even put it as multiple choice or any kind of tick box thing. Everyone just wrote in saying they want to talk about London City Lionesses. So the Michelle Kang PR is clearly working because
It's worked on me.
everyone's talking
I'm
about
kind of
it.
moved.
Everyone is talking about it.
If you've got money, come on.
It's like Michelle Kang has gathered a load of like our oomphs and sat around a table and gone, right, name some WSL ballerats of times gone by and let's sign them. And I think that is a really fun recruitment. Kate, get fit. She'll get you in.
Get the call up.
I do wonder if there is a room for a Kate Longhurst-shaped person on that London City roster.
Absolutely not. Not after I ran yesterday, no.
Well, the latest gossip or the latest rumours are that Katie Zellum, who's currently at Angel City and I think has about 18 months left on her contract, she is potentially in the works at London City, and Alana Kennedy, who's also at Angel City. So it really is Barclays heritage recruitment. That's also on top of DVD coming in, which is massive. Obviously, recently wed to Ellie Carpenter, who's moved to Chelsea. So understandably, she was probably looking for a move.
Logistically, it works well.
Down south. It works well. But still, that's pretty big for, and obviously she came from Lyon, so there's already, she's in the Kang universe already. But it's been a very busy summer. I was at the training ground last week for their pre-season media day, which, have to say, it is a bit of a building site, but where there's a Kang, there's a way. You can understand things are moving extremely quickly there in terms of what they're building. They've taken over this rec ground, which has this sort of 1970s cricket pavilion, like the kind of thing, like where people would have a disco in year 6 kind of vibe.
Love it.
And so it's quite old school, but you can imagine things are going to be popping up quite quickly. There's a lot of Portakabins, but I will say the pitches look immaculate. The grass looked amazing. And we were doing some filming on the grass, and I was saying to my producer, really concerned about stepping on this grass because you guys know what groundsmen are like. They're very protective, understandably. It's their craft. I would be as well. And we were doing walk and talk, and I just said, I don't want to upset them if we're trudging along in our trainers along this. But they were so chill. They said, yeah, go wherever you want. And I thought, okay, London City groundsmen already tick because they're not aggy and overprotective about their grass, which looks immaculate. So the pitch is already coming along nicely. They've sort of got 2 in total and then a 4G1, which they were training on last season. Now the sort of younger teams are playing on that. But I think it's exciting to see where they're going. And it's been such a busy transfer window. I can understand why fans are looking at them and thinking, they could be pretty interesting and spicy this season.
I think the biggest thing is every team that's come up before, we look at them and we're like, okay, they might have brought 3 or 4 players in, but you look at them and go, they're probably going to go back down. It's really difficult to stay in that league. Whereas,
what I will say this year is it's like basically impossible to get relegated.
Well, that's true.
And like even if you finish last in the WSL, there's no way that you're losing to the third place
in
championship team.
I don't know, championship teams are putting a bit of money in now,
but if a third place championship team comes up, they're going to get destroyed the season after.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. But I think that's the exciting thing is that no one really knows the ceiling on London City at the moment. When they were first making signings, I thought they're a little bit random signings. I don't know if that's exactly what they need because of what they already had. I thought they really needed to strengthen in defence when you go up to WSL, it's going to be a lot different from Championship. But they seem to have brought in some defenders now. And midfield is probably the position now where you look and go, they might need some reinforcements. So if Katie Zellum comes in, she's obviously got a lot of experience, a leadership role because she was captain at Man United. She can score goals, great from set pieces. So I think she'd be a really good acquisition if they could get her in. But I think they've got a good balance of experience and youth as well. Like players like Freya Godfrey. I played her at Charlton, a really young, exciting talent. She scored a really good goal the other day in a pre-season game as well. Izzy Goodwin up top.
I'm really excited to see her in the WSL.
It's a big jump up from Championship to WSL. Let's not make any bones about it. But it's good to have some young players and for them to be around players like Aslani, Jakobsen, players that have been there, done it. Nikita Paris now coming in. They've got some really good experienced players, but that will really help the younger ones coming through as well. So I think that's why there's a lot of excitement about it because they're just sort of bringing in a lot of names. And whether it all works, we don't know. Time will tell. But it will certainly get people watching their games because they want to see how they get on, which is good. It's good to have some excitement for the league.
You've also got, as I said, basically a free season to kind of play around with that team and see where it fits and how those players fit together. Because that's what I think you see that with Liverpool men. They've brought a load of people in this season. It's a bit wobbly. So having that season to kind of bed yourself into the WSL and be like, how does this fit together? Kind of working out the puzzle. You've got January transfer window and you've got another summer. I think I don't know this season how they will do, but I think it's a good foundation season for them going forward to the season after.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned some of the experience. Nikita Paris, who was at Brighton, had a really good season. I thought she was in a shout for a place in the England squad. That's big, and she is now becoming quite an important leader, I think, in a lot of teams she plays in. Elena Linari, who was at the Euros, decent player. A lot of players coming from Europe, fairly big teams as well, Real Madrid, Ajax. But then you said about that sort of next gen, who they already know a little bit, like Taya Goldie, who was there last season. And I think what's been interesting is they weren't afraid to cut some of the players that brought them up last season, which seems quite brutal. But I do think maybe in the past, some sides have come up and not strengthened enough and kept quite a lot of what is realistically a Championship, now WSL 2 squad.
I will not be calling it that.
And sometimes you've just got to be a bit cutthroat. And I'm sure it's quite tough for the players who played quite a big part in that promotion. I think of Chantal Borlorca, who was, I think she scored on the final day. Yeah. I think she was, quite important in their promotion. Didn't get a new deal. And they certainly have their sights set on, what the next target is going to be. A couple of people specifically asked how long we thought it was going to be before they break into the top 5. I don't know if anyone wants to stick their neck out on that, shall we say, or even say where people think, we're going to do a proper WSL preview episode, but where people think they might finish this season.
Yeah, top 5, it's all about recruitment of the right players after this season. I think they need to see how they get on this season to know what they're missing. The one thing I would say is with a lot of the players they're bringing in, and we've said about experience, which is really good for the first season in there, but long term, it's going to be a lot of players getting towards mid-30s. How long can that go to keep a really good team? So they are going to have quite a high turnover again, I think. Listen, in women's football, you have to be honest, money talks. If you can throw enough money at someone and you can see an ambitious project, you were saying about the training facilities and everything that they're trying to do and the pitches, it will depend on how they do this season. But I think if you can throw money at people, people will come. It's as simple as that. But you've just got to get the right people, the right characters that kind of blend. And with some of the other teams, I think the advantage is they've been building squads over the years. So it's going to be very difficult for them to break in. But if you look at the ambition of other clubs in the WSL at the moment, would you possibly put them above the teams that have been in there that are just consistently staying mid-table to bottom of the league? Maybe they can start pushing them and then I don't know, maybe within 2-3 seasons, that's what they're looking for. But with Michelle Kang, she probably wants to win the league this season, so I don't know.
I've just looked at like who finished 5th in the past few seasons. It's been a different team every season since the WSL started. I do think it's one of those, it's like, we always talk about that 5th position and which team is going to kind of be the surprise and take it. And I look at those other teams in the WSL, I look at like their recruitment, I look at their pre-seasons, and I'm like, well, I don't see why London City Lionesses can't take that 5th spot with like how it is at the moment. Like, you're right, Kate, like if you throw money at it in women's football, like you are going to get somewhere. And she has thrown some money at it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them finishing in 5th. It's hard to tell because obviously they're a very new prospect.
It's a lot of new players to gel together as well straight away, isn't it? Yeah. You can say, we've got really good players coming in, but they have to actually blend well together as well and work out how each other play. But the good thing is they've brought in some people that have experience of the league, even though DVD's gone abroad but come back. She's still got experience of the WSL, but with Nikita Paris, they have got people that have got experience of the league, but it's a lot of new players to bring in together for it to work straight away.
And in your experience, Kate, how much of a difference does having a strong foundation with a good training ground make? Obviously, when you were at West Ham, they moved into the old men's senior team training ground, which is quite common now. Leicester did it. Liverpool women have now moved into Liverpool men's old training ground because often those men's sides upgrade and then the women's teams inherit actually really high quality facilities. So how much of a difference did that make once West Ham moved into that training facility?
Yeah, I think it changes a lot because that's where you do most of your work anyway. The game at the weekend is the reward of everything that you've done throughout the week. So when you've got good facilities, you can recover properly, you can train properly, you can eat properly. When I first went to West Ham, we didn't have a canteen. We'd eat snacks in a little room.
What snacks were you having? The
like
little room?
I can't even remember, like a Nutri-Grain bar or something. Like it was, like you're just getting a milkshake and a snack out the fridge and you're not eating there. And, whereas now I think, I would hope through every WSL club and probably WSL2 club, that's a given now. But it does make a difference and you want to feel settled. You want to feel like you've got your own space at the training ground. So it's good that they're kind of moving towards that. But again, if there's not everything set up right now, I don't know how that looks and that could cause a bit of disruption. But I'm sure they're going to try and do things as quick as they can to get it to that level.
All right, let's talk about the other thing that everyone asks us about, which was Barcelona next. So the other thing that everyone messaged us about on Twitter and Instagram was Barcelona. What is going on? Why are players leaving? What are all the financial implications and rules and regulations that are causing a bit of chaos this summer? So it is quite complicated.
Do an explainer for us.
So
I'm locked
I
in and ready.
I don't want to get too into the weeds, but the long and short of it is that La Liga have quite complicated salary cap and FFP rules, right? So when they calculate these restrictions that they put on the men's teams, they include all the costs that are across the club. So that includes the women's side, that includes basketball, of which Real Madrid and Barcelona, people know, have quite big basketball clubs, rugby, handball, whatever you're spending, youth teams, whatever. That is classified under one umbrella. So obviously Liga F looks after Barcelona's women's team in terms of the league structure, but when it comes to calculating restrictions and total revenue and total costs, La Liga encompasses all of that, right? So as people will know, many years ago, it kind of all reached this big inflection point with Messi when Barcelona couldn't afford to re-sign him and he left. He went to PSG and it was very emotional and he didn't want to leave, but they couldn't afford him. At that point, Barcelona had over €1 billion in debt and it was a bit of a crisis. Since then, they've tried to reduce that debt, but they've still been living with all of the issues from the past of overspending, mostly on...
They're just like me.
Credit card debt.
In debt.
Mostly on player salaries and transfer fees, obviously. Now, the women's team, are a very small proportion of that spending. But unfortunately, because of the way that these restrictions are calculated, this summer, the men's team, have suffered again with a lot of pressure and financial restrictions around who they can renew, who they can re-sign, who they can register. People know that they obviously signed Marcus Rashford, but they couldn't register him until just before their La Liga season started because they still hadn't found money in the budget. In order to find some more money in the budget, Barcelona decided to end the contracts early of some women's players to free up some space. So Frilin Rolfo, who's now gone to Manchester United, Yana Fernandez, who's gone to London City, who is probably the one that, along with Rolfo, has kind of upset fans the most because she is a product of the academy. She's someone that was very much a player of the future, an amazing coup for London City, but obviously one that fans would have thought is someone that they want to see play in the first team for the foreseeable future. And also Ellie Roebuck, who hadn't really played there but had time left on her contract, was very much the backup, is now at Aston Villa. So it's obviously great to see her back in the WSL, as well as a few other players. There may be more departures this summer. The only player that's come in is Lai Alexandri, who came in from a free from Manchester City. So they are a bit restricted. Also, there is a big cloud about who they'll be able to renew next season because they've got lots of contracts expiring. Claudia Pina, Catacol, and I think Alexia Putellas as well. So obviously huge names. And Onubache, huge names who fans will all want to be staying there, core part of the team. So it's created a lot of noise, and probably the biggest thing is create a lot of discourse around the fact that the women's team are suffering as a result of the dysfunctionality and the missteps of the men's team, despite the women's team being one of the most successful teams in the world and Europe, dominating the Champions League in recent seasons, absolutely dominating Liga F, having 2 Ballon d'Or winners. So I think there's frustration, obviously, from fans who are feeling like, well, why is the women's team having to suffer as a consequence of the actions of the men's team? And also, I understand, Barcelona hierarchy are saying, hang on a minute, why are La Liga's financial restrictions calculating all of everyone else involved across the club, including the women's team, when it should really just be the men's team? Kate, as someone who's played at clubs where budgets have been tight, I feel like maybe you have kind of some sympathy in a way about what it's like to be kind of told there's no money, we're broke, and how that can start to impact things ahead of the new season.
I've never had those words said to me, we're broke. Barcelona have become the club that everyone almost idolises in women's football in the last 2-3 seasons, haven't they? In terms of the football they play, the players they're bringing through. It's actually quite worrying, I think. It just shows the fragility of women's football and how we're still reliant upon other factors for it to work and to be able to run in the way that we want it to be run. And when you've got world-class players, which they have a whole team full of them, it's quite worrying that I think the last time I looked, they were left with like 17 first-team players,
it's
which
tiny. That's crazy.
And you're 1 or 2 injuries away from, not even being able to.
You're 1 or 2 injuries away from not having a team.
Well, completing your squad.
You're putting those players more at risk because they're going to have to play more.
Yeah, and if you're asking them to play 90 minutes every week, okay, at the moment, the Spanish league, in terms of the league games, they're winning games quite comfortably for some of the teams. But when you go further into competitions, Champions League wise, you can't be rolling out the same players playing 90 minutes and expect them to be at their top level every week. But more than just the implications on the pitch, I think long term, you've listed some of the names of players that are out of contract next season. If I'm a player there and I'm a world-class player and I'm looking at that, I'm going, well, what's the future of this club? I don't know if I want to be a part of that. If I don't know how this looks or how successful we'll be, I'll take my chances on somewhere that's actually got ambition, that wants to bring in players, and compete on all fronts. You know, if you're a top player, whereas you're going to have some players that want to stay loyal. They're Barcelona fans. They're brought up in Spain, want to play in Spain. But I just think it's really bleak for the players that are there now, looking at that, going, well, how does this look in 2-3 years? Because do I want to be a part of that, or do I have to try and find something else now? So, you know, some players are going to maybe have an eye on a move somewhere else, or how they can get out of that situation.
So I agree with you. But then there's also the fan part of me. And I'm going to be truly honest about it. That I'm like, loot them. Destroy the team. Disband the women's team. I'm bored of Barcelona. So there's like, I feel everything that you've just said, like, in a women's football sense, it's really bleak. It's really bad. In a fan sense, I'm like, there is part of it that's like, oh, they're out of the way. Like, they're going to struggle. And that's good for everybody else in women's football. And that's just like a very honest feeling from a fan perspective, because I think it is pretty bleak and shows how fragile women's football is, but also let someone else win.
Well, I think other teams in the Champions League will probably be looking at seeing as an opportunity. I don't think it makes any difference in Ligue F because they're so dominant that not having that depth, I don't think will matter. But Rolfo is certainly a player who has been a key part of their squad over the last few seasons, and there's going to be now a reliance on the younger players even more. And because they're Barcelona, there's always top talent coming out of the academy, and obviously we saw that at the Euros with Vicky Lopez, who started the start of the tournament in Bob Matty's absence and was phenomenal, and is someone that everyone's understandably really excited about. And the club have already said that they're going to have to lean more on youth because there's going to be a lot less money to spend. But it's that status thing. I think it's something that other clubs have maybe kind of used in their favour through the years, of the fact that you are Barcelona, players should still want to sign for you. And I know that one of Barcelona's hierarchy kind of talked about how he believes the women's football transfer market has become so inflated. I think we've seen that a lot with probably the fees this summer. Olivia Smith, such a young player, she's hardly done any time in the WSL and becomes the record signing because the market is moving so quickly. Things are changing so quickly. There's not really a way to accurately come up with fees. Essentially, if two clubs really want a player, we could create a record transfer because if they're going to drive up the value enough, there'll be something there. But when you still think about it in relative terms, it's nothing compared to what the salaries and transfer fees are going to be on the men's side. So really the bare minimum should be that you're building a squad that can challenge in the Champions League, because Liga F won't be an issue, but it'll be the Champions League. If they don't get to a final this season, that'll be a complete travesty. I mean, losing to Arsenal was a huge shock to many people because they went into that as the overwhelming favourites, and a lot of people expected them to win. I think it was going to be their third consecutive Champions League, and they didn't. And now they're coming back with more added pressure, and all this off the back of it. I think it doesn't help. And then you've got big players out of contract who everyone will be desperate to sign. Clubs that are much more willing to spend a lot of money. I think it's interesting as well when we kind of look at it on the context of going into this coming Champions League qualifiers. You've got Manchester United, who have benefited from the Fridolina Rolfo exit, but they're travelling to their qualifiers. Their first game is tomorrow against PSV, and then if they win that, they'll progress. They've got some injuries. They've also got links with, Grace Clinton being linked a move away to Manchester City. I think United are another club where we see players regularly leave because there's a bigger, better offer elsewhere. And obviously we've seen the financial dysfunctionality across the men's side. And I think the women's team have tried to stay out of it, but you can't help but feel, and I think Jim Ratcliffe's been quite transparent with this, the women's team will suffer as a result of the restriction on spending and cuts and everything like that. And there you look at the Manchester United squad and you think, okay, if they get through to the league phase of the Champions League, they're going to need some more players. And it's been apart from Rolfo, relatively quiet summer for them, and some players leaving. They're going to have to spend some money. They are going to have to spend some money. They got Rolfo on a free, and I'm sure her contract is fairly decent, but they've kind of benefited there. But if they're going to give that squad the best chance of going and surviving in Europe, obviously they've got to get through the qualifiers and challenging in the league. When you look at how City, Chelsea and Arsenal have all strengthened this summer, where are the United players?
Yeah, Man United last season, there was a lot of criticism and saying they're not going to really do anything, and they probably overachieved a little bit of what other people from the outside looking in expected. And maybe they think, well, we did all right last season, so if we bring one or two in, we'll be all right again this season. But it's not the case. Other teams have strengthened. And what you don't want as a club is to be left behind, especially if you are in the Champions League. It's not easy games that you're going to be playing, and you only really get some serious money the further you go in the tournament. So then you're looking for the future of bringing in other players. Also, if you don't get far in a Champions League, the best players are not going to want to come to your club because they're not seeing progression in the Champions League. So it's very difficult, Man United. I don't know how, as a player, if my owners were saying we don't really care about the women's team, I'm not sure how happy I would be as a player being there. However, if I have a contract and I'm there and I like the environment and everything that's there, I like the manager, whatever, then it's a place that you want to be. But it's just a shame because they're such a huge club. But then they've been saying they're not going to spend money. But then you look at the men's team, I mean, they've brought in loads of players this season. So I don't really know the ins and outs of what's going on at Man United, but it doesn't look to be, if I'm a player and I'm looking at London City Lionesses and Manchester United and I'm saying which club wants to invest the most, which club wants to go the furthest, well, if you ask any person that's not involved in women's football, you'd think Man United. But actually, if you're a female player and you're looking at it, you're probably going, actually, I'd rather join the project of London City Lionesses. So that's kind of where we're at. And that's quite a terrifying place to be in when you've got such a big worldwide brand as Man United and they're not really doing anything to try and compete.
Also, like with the Barcelona situation, the men's team is having such an effect on what happens to the women's team. We've talked about that before with other teams, like Everton in the past, when it was like, oh, if they get relegated, what happens to their women's team? Man United, men, haven't had a good start to the season. Doesn't seem like it's going well over there. That is ultimately going to hugely affect the women's team. Another thing with London City Lionesses is like, they don't have that. Their project is all about them. It doesn't have any external factors of like what a men's team is doing and how they're performing. They can just concentrate on themselves.
I think what's always surprising with Manchester United, and it's just the value of the brand and how they carry so much legacy and history and it makes it exciting, is they will still always manage to recruit because they're Manchester United. It's the same with the men's team, right?
How long does that last, though?
Well, I know,
it's been lasting for 10 years.
Exactly.
But
So I think there never seems to be an end to it. And whenever they do sign a player on the men's and women's side, so often that will be met with, well, I was a Manchester United fan growing up. This has always been my team.
So it's going to take another 10 years for those kids who were
no
kids when United was shit
anymore.
Yeah, so I just think it still has that coup that makes them a really exciting project because of the sheer fact that it's Manchester United. And also they have an FA Cup trophy, European qualification now. That does make you excited. But I'm with UK in terms of feeling supported by an ownership or thinking about long-term opportunity, even though what London City Lionesses don't have is the brand.
Mm-hmm.
We're yet to see how that fan base develops. Whereas Manchester United have a very passionate fan base who travel well, who are loud in their support, who really want to see their women's team do well. And I think that also probably makes fans excited because they see the support, they see how they, turn out at Wembley for the FA Cup and probably feel excited about, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of those fans. And to be fair, there's not actually that many clubs in the WSL who can say that they've got atmosphere and a proper fan base and following at any of their games.
How do you become a London City Lionesses fan? Everyone that's a fan of London City Lionesses, please DM me, tell me how that happened. Because it's not even like they've played in a consistent, they were in Dartford, now there's some there in Bromley. How do you become a London City Lionesses fan?
Well, I think they'll be looking at targeting people within that Southeast London, Kent area, and also hoping that they pull over people who are fans of individual players. I mean, Ashlani had a great World Cup. She's a very well-known player.
They need a lioness to do that. And that's Arsenal after the 2022
Well, Paris is
Euros.
probably as close as they've got. But yeah, you need a current winner. But
they should have done they should have gone in for the Michelle Adjman loan.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think having a current England player who's been part of a winning squad definitely makes a big difference.
Because I think that's what sparked Arsenal's success in a fan way. After 2022, they had so many of those successful players and people who were kind of footballing homeless and weren't, a lot of women who got into football over that Euros then were looking for somewhere and they found it. But also that's harder now because there's less people that are looking after the last one because they all found somewhere after the 2022. So it's the younger generation, I guess, of women's football fan.
I think it's a good experiment as well on how far marketing can get you, because I think what a lot of WSL teams lack is good marketing.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe Arsenal, you could say they've nailed it. So many clubs have just relied on the existing legacy and brand of the men's team, which is huge, to then also help with the women's team. And Chelsea have put a lot of energy and money into marketing their women's games recently, and it definitely has boosted things. But across the board, I think you don't see enough targeted marketing. And I think that's, sometimes a lack of experience. I think in the US, people are much better at nailing how they target to customers to bring them through the door. Whereas what's interesting with London City is if they do start to really build a good fan base, I think people will realise what you can achieve if you do things in a more targeted way. I mean, so few WSL teams even send out a mail out to people to say, come to this game, or post social media stuff on the men's channels.
I don't know if that's true, because I feel like when you've had to sign up for every single WSL teams with an email to buy a ticket, boy, did London City Lionesses not leave me alone last season.
So that's what I'm saying. London City Lionesses are doing that, whereas other clubs don't, because they're just not built like that. Like when I went to one Gotham game, I get text messages from them weekly, and I don't even live in that country. Whereas most WSL sides just aren't really proactive about it because they're not used to doing it, because they sell out the men's games without having to do any marketing. So they're not used to marketing. Whereas London City Lionesses have that challenge from day dot. Mm-hmm. So they can't not work hard and market, because otherwise there'll be no one there. But again, you don't have the advantage of the other clubs, which is a already established brand. But clearly there's intrigue by the sheer fact that of the 20 people that sent us messages about what they wanted to talk about, 60% of them all mentioned London City Lionesses. So there's intrigue, there's interest, and some of those people will maybe be undecided still in their allegiances. And I think there are so many fans as well who I'm meeting more and more who support one men's team and another women's team. So those women's team ones, although a lot of them have ended up picking Arsenal, they're potentially still up for grabs.
Look, I think that is wrong and bad, and you should be cancelled. But because London City don't have a men's team attached to them, I think that's maybe more justified if you had a men's team and then them. But if you're like a men's team fan of like Chelsea and then you're an Arsenal women's fan, get a grip.
No, I agree. I think if you pick one club, you pick one club. But more and more people are just picking whatever women's team
we shouldn't
they
allow
fancy,
it. We shouldn't
regardless.
be encouraging it, Flo. We should be telling them it's wrong.
One team
Also,
only.
we've got to say, in Champions League qualifiers, Glasgow City will also be involved in that. They're going to be taking on Austria Vienna. So how it works for the very complicated Champions League qualifying is everyone's playing their first games on Wednesday, 11 a.m, early morning.
Oh, gorgeous.
So
if you
everyone
want to
can
watch
keep
Manchester
up to date.
United, PSV. And then if Manchester United win that game,
No, I've got therapy.
you have to cancel it.
Sorry, babe. This is my real therapy.
They will then, that's the second qualifying round, so it's a semi-final. So if they win that, they'll probably play Hammarby, which is a very tough game because Hammarby are also in season. That'll be the final of the second round of qualifying, which is the 30th of August. So if they win against PSV, then win against Hammarby, they'll go into the third qualifying round stage, which would be the final one before the league phase. I hope I've got this right because it's complicated. That's going to be happening in September, and there'll be another draw for that because it will involve
What, the
all
teams
the teams
on that other side? Or is it all in?
No, so that will be determined by then we reach the next phase. So it's some teams who are already one step ahead and teams in this one. But even if Manchester United lose, they could still qualify for the Europa Cup, the new second tier.
I forgot about that.
Competition, which is for teams that don't qualify for the Champions League. So all is not lost, but they do have two really tough games in this second round.
Tough.
PSV, it's not going to be easy, and Hammarby is really tough. Obviously, can have everyone's favourite team in Sweden. Vibes, got into Champions League group stage last season, a hotbed of young talent, lots of young Swedish players that everyone's very excited about there. But we will talk about all those games on next Monday's show. We'll also do a bit more a season preview chat. But we'll leave it there. Kate, good to see you.
It's good to see you both as well.
And hopefully
Been ages, hasn't it?
better things for West Ham men this week and not more Kate looking sad on the telly.
I hope so.
It was good
vibes,
though.
It was funny.
No, it wasn't.
Seeing you on the TV was funny.
No.
It was.
No.
And now we've got a meme saved forevermore. Becky, good to see you. Hopefully your voice recovers a little bit. I feel like most of the time we get you on the show now, your voice is gone.
I actually, I went to sleep yesterday and my voice was fine. But the Dust Bowl and the Liverpool game, I'm suffering.
Look after yourself, everybody. We will be back on Monday.